Hello, my sewing friends. My name's Diana, and this is my sewing vlog, The Wandering Sewist. Welcome to my channel. Today is another edition of hashtag Friday Sews, where we talk a little bit about sewing and a little bit about life. So I just want to say a quick thank you to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting this hashtag that has brought more of the sewing community together, which I really appreciate since I live away from home, overseas, and spend a lot of my time with my online community rather than a community that I don't speak the same language of. So thank you so much, Jen. I really do appreciate that. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm like almost to 1,000 subscribers. I need about 100 more subscribers and I'll be at 1,000, which is exciting. So if you haven't taken a moment to subscribe yet, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and give my video a thumbs up. Feel free to comment below. I answer all of my comments. I love interacting with you all in your comments down below the videos. It's one of the ways that I get to reach out and have a sense of community. So I really do love it. So today let's talk about sewing first. So this week I have finished my first Montrose dress from Little Lizard King. It is this one, the Montrose dress. So this is the size 2 that I made for my youngest granddaughter. She just turned 1, but she's a big girl, and in September she'll be 18 months old. So this will be just about right for her. So this is the front, and you can see the layers of tulle, and then the underskirt, and then the back. It's a button-up back, which I use vintage buttons from my mom's button stash. And then for the lining, I use some blue gingham that I had in my quilting stash. So I took a little bit of time to make the finishings of this dress more durable and just a little bit fancier. So I did make my own bias binding, which I will talk about in a minute. And on the inside of the dress, I want to show you some of the finishing touches that I gave it so that it would be durable and more comfortable for my granddaughter. So on the inside, you can see that there's no overlocking. I French seamed all of the seams inside, and I did bias binding around the waistline, and I French seamed the sleeve seams here. And I did bias binding on the hem of the underskirt as well. And I tried to machine in, like, just to edge stitch the bias binding, but it left a line that I didn't want. So I took all that out, and then I just went through and I did a very slight hand stitch to just finish up this edge of the bias binding, which you can't really see that much from the front. I think that it's pretty much invisible. I just took teeny tiny little bites, just a couple of threads, and that worked a lot better than using the machine. I also took advantage of having a lot of tulle, and I did 4 layers of tulle for the overskirts. I did 2 layers of the longer. So there's another tulle layer under here to add more fullness. And the instructions said you didn't have to bias finish the under ones if you decided to add some extra, so I didn't. And so there's 1, and then the one that's finished. And then there's the shorter one. That's 3, and then the short one with the satin bias binding finish on the outside. And so this is the very first time that I have successfully sewn with satin, and it is the first time that I've sewn with tulle ever. And I have to say that I am pretty satisfied with my results. I'm very happy with the way that it came out. This is the first dress of 3. I have to sew, this one is a size 2, and then I need to sew the size 3, and then I need to sew a size 6. So I finished this one this week, and then I started on the next size up, the size 3. And I wanted to show you my progress that I have on my size 3. So far I have sewn all of the pieces together. I have the little size 3 bodice done and the buttons. And I did the same finish on the inside. I did French seams on the sleeves so that it would be nicely finished and there'd be no itchy spots. And then I sewed the underskirts together. And I used French seams on the underskirt. And I just now realized, just this second, that I made an extra underskirt of the smaller size. I'm not sure why I did that. I think I wasn't paying attention to what I was cutting out. I'll have to find a use for this fabric. I don't want to waste it. It may become more bias binding. But so this is the underskirt, which I just have to bias bind. And then I also made 4 of the overskirts, 2 out of tulle, the two large ones and 2 small ones. And then I went ahead and did what I talked about last week, which was the continuous bias binding. So at first I cut just small squares to just practice and experiment out of some scrap fabric of the satin. I had a lot of scraps. So I just experimented with it and it came out great. I used Karina's tutorial from Lifting Pins and Needles. She has a great channel. I'll put up here in the cards and I'll link it down below. If you haven't found Karina Trinidad's channel, Lifting Pins and Needles, she is an incredible teacher. She has so many videos of all the different sewing techniques that you could possibly want to learn. And I highly recommend going to visit her channel for learning anything that you need to learn in sewing. So I went ahead and I used her tutorial on the continuous bias binding. And it took me 2 days because I needed a lot. And I had to do mom stuff in between. So one of the tips that she gave was that I used this bias maker, and this says 18 on the back, which means it's 18 millimeters, which is about 1 3/8 of an inch. So my very first cut, I used 1 3/8 of an inch for my strips, but it was shifting around a little too much inside of here, and I kept having to steer it. So my next time I used 1.5 inches wide strips, and that worked perfectly. So for this 18, I'm using 1.5 inch wide strips to get this bias binding. So her other tip was, if you're working with satin, was to use spray starch, because this satin has been really difficult to press. It doesn't really hold a crease that well. So her tip was to spray starch, just saturate the strip before you start pressing with spray starch, and keep the steam off on your iron and just use the starch as the moisture for pressing. And that came out great. So I've got some very nicely pressed bias binding, and it's continuous. This particular strip came out to be 15 yards from one square that was 30 inches by 30 inches. So I got 15 yards from a 30-inch square. I thought that was pretty good. I am going to have to make more, I think, later on. But for right now, I have plenty to finish the size 3 dress. And then maybe start on the size 4. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I did experiment also with sewing the unpressed strips together on some of the smaller squares that I was experimenting on, and man, that was tricky and difficult. They kept coming out stepped, which was not ideal. So I think cutting individual bias strips and then trying to sew them together and then press them was more difficult than just sewing the continuous bias binding. I found that to be way better and more efficient. And even though it was really intimidating to sew at these weird angles that you need to sew, and then to press that huge long piece of bias binding, it did come out really great. But it did take me 2 days, first of all, to teach myself how to do it, and then to go ahead and finish the first batch of continuous bias binding. But I'm really glad that I have picked up that skill. I think that I have quite a bit of bigger size scraps that it's not big enough to sew anything with other than like maybe make it into a pocket. But if I could get my own bias binding stash built up, I think that that will help me a lot more. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty happy with the skill I learned this week and with the progress that I'm making on the dresses for my son's wedding. So before I go much further in my video, I want to talk to you about what I'm wearing. What I'm wearing is the Palermo dress from Itch to Stitch. And it is Kenneth Wong's book. So beautiful. This is a great sewing book. The patterns are really, really wonderful. I highly recommend you pick up this book. And Kenneth Wong is the person behind Itch to Stitch. So the Palermo dress can be made into a peasant style top or dress. Here's the line drawings. And so I have made both the peasant top and the dress, both out of this fabric, but today I'm wearing the dress. And I really love this dress. This is on my list of things that I would like to make another one of, especially for the summer, because it's super comfortable. And you could wear it with or without the belt. Sometimes I just leave the belt off because it's breezy and loose and comfortable. And sometimes I wear the belt. There's no belt loops or anything to hold it on, so you can put the belt wherever you want it to go, which I really enjoy. But I do like this dress, and I have plans to make another one. I'm going to insert footage now of me in my bedroom in this dress so you can see what it looks like. Here I am in my room in my Palermo dress from Itch to Stitch. It's a pretty tiered skirt that I really love. And the bodice, it's a peasant style bodice with elastic around the neckline and elastic around the sleeves. Okay, so the next segment of Friday Sews is about life. So for life this week, what's been going on is one of my sons went off to a 3-day camp. So the 15-year-old, he went off to a 3-day camp. So he's been gone since Wednesday morning. And it's been weird having the 15-year-old gone and just having the 13-year-old and the 10-year-old around. That's been a little bit strange. But I was out grocery shopping last night, and he called me just to do a quick check-in and tell me what camp was like. And it was so sweet. So sweet. And when we said goodbye, he told me he loved me, which was fantastic. If you don't know, these 3 boys are adopted from an orphanage in Ukraine, and we've had them about 5.5 years. And so he was 10 when we adopted him. And to have that bond with an older child is very, very special. It's very special. And it just makes my mama heart so happy to have that bond with my 15-year-old. So I enjoyed that very much. Other things have been happening this week. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I have been spending a lot of time down here in the basement in my sewing room working on this dress and the bias binding. And not really doing much of anything else other than grocery shopping and cooking and cleaning and staying home. It's been a quiet week, which, you know, can be good. I'm learning to be at peace with this season of my life, that this is a time where I have a lot of time at home doing things for me that I enjoy. Reading books. I've been doing a lot of reading of books, sewing things for myself and for others, which I really enjoy, and spending time on my household, my family, my kids, cooking, baking, all the things that I dreamed of when I was a little girl. So I am enjoying that a lot, and I am learning to be at peace with that season, this season of my life. I don't have to run out to work. And it's been really pleasant. So I don't know how long it'll last. However long we can last financially with me not working, we'll see how it goes. But for right now, I'm just really enjoying this season. And I'm going to be spending my sewing time on finishing these dresses until they're done. And then I will ship them off to my son. But not before I talk to them about some embellishments that I have ideas on. I have ideas on something for the girl's hair, like a little headband. I have an idea for possibly putting a little flower right here, like taking some of the satin and making little flower petals, and then you can roll those up, and then I could surround them with some tulle and have a little embellishment right there. I think that once I finish the dresses, I will go ahead and make one of those little flowers and just kind of hold it on, and then talk to them on video chat or send a picture and ask them, what do they think about embellishing it with a little flower? I think that's what I'll do. But other than this, life has been quiet. So I am enjoying this season. So I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And this Monday, coming Monday, the 10th, will be my 23rd wedding anniversary. So my husband and I talked about it yesterday, and we decided we just wanted a quiet evening at home. So that's the age we are. We just want a quiet evening at home. We don't really want to go out and do a bunch of stuff. We just want peace. So it's so funny. We're on the same page about all of that. So I'm looking forward to having a peaceful weekend and a peaceful wedding anniversary. I hope you all have a peaceful, lovely weekend with lots of time to sew something beautiful. Take care. Bye.